Gus, you are the banner. You have failed. I did promise as well. I did literally say I will make sure his banner's up yesterday. So give me, while I'm talking, Gus is going to run around quietly and put the banners up. That's true. You have one job, sir.
Gus putting banners up quietly. I'm not sure if that's happened before. That's all right. Now we get to laugh at Gus as he puts banners up. Sweet.
We will just put this one back out.
Why not? Why not? Welcome, everybody. How you doing? Already roll for 7:30 in the morning on a Wednesday. Good. Okay, cool. Well,
this is Scott. I'm Dave, and for the last decade, we've been getting up at silly times in the morning to come here and give you guys and girls morning startup. It's been going since late 2011.
Yep. Every 2 weeks, rain, hail or shine, we get people in the room and talk about startup stuff. So thank you for coming. Hopefully you're all in that sort of game of starting a business or thinking about starting a business or involved in that some way, and you're going to learn some awesome things from James today from BetterLabs, who is here to talk about all the stuff he's learned, incubating over 500 startups. Some made it, some haven't, various stages. So he's learned quite a few things over his time, so it's going to be pretty awesome. But
we have a format. So, one thing, while Gus is putting up the banner, are you all right in there? Are you still alive?
I don't think he is. Oh no, there's movement. It's all good.
Yeah. So one thing we do is, Morning Startup is really built to kind of help people meet and network, and that's why we have a special section at the end of it to network. But we like to hear people's shameless plugs. We like to learn how you found us, what brought you here. Obviously, you've seen on the meetup group, we're nearly 7,000 members.
Woohoo!
Awesome. I think we need to throw, do you remember the Y2K?
Yeah.
The M2K party? We probably should show
7K.
A 7K party.
We always say this, but then it takes work to put a party on. We never do.
I had to get a liquor license for the last one, so I think it's not too hard.
Who wants to throw a party for our 7,000 member thing?
Yeah. But we have a shameless plug. So stand up, introduce yourself. If you're new here, we know who the new people are.
Phil!
And tell us what you're working on, and also have an ask.
Go for it.
G'day, I'm Phil. I've started a little company called Pingmaster, and I test cricket bats. I test cricket bats, but it could be extended to baseball bats, hockey sticks, anything. So essentially, I test cricket bats for their performance. You can spend up to $2,000 for a cricket bat, and you can spend $2,000 and get a dud. And I don't think that's fair. And so I've created my startup that will test your cricket bat and make sure that you get value for money.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. Who's got a cricket bat that needs testing?
I don't have a cricket bat that needs testing, by the way. But my nephew does. He loves cricket. And I know how much they cost because I bought him one for his birthday. It wasn't $2,000 though. Hello everyone. I have been to Morning Startup and I think you guys do a fabulous job. I'm here today because I'm actually transitioning into a new role. I'm joining Allied Legal, which is a legal firm that's in Melbourne, and to be honest, with my background, I never thought that I'd be joining a legal firm. I started my career as a molecular biologist. I worked with a number of startups myself. I work at universities, institutes, worked in the research and innovation sector, and what I'll be doing for Allied Legal is actually heading their Allied grants aspect of it. So I'll actually be providing grant services to them because I know, having been in the startup scene, how important funding is, and grants play a big part of it. So that's what I'm here for, and I'd love to sort of learn more about your businesses and your passion and your ventures, because I'm here to sort of, get this off the ground and launch my own little startup, which is part of this company called Allied Legal. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you very much. Grants, there's a lot of cool grants going around, so if you need assistance. Yes! Who wants to go?
Okay. You want to go? Okay. I'm Joe Huber. I'm Adam's sidekick. And Adam started about 3 years ago in 2021 in July with an idea around a kitchen table, around Perth, anywhere we go. There was a problem with access. A lot of places are very difficult to get in. A lot of places are very difficult to find, the accessible toilets and so on. This is a very good example as well. It's got a great big sign on it, but it's not accessible. This has progressed from a prototype website to now being partnered by Horizon Digital to develop an app, and Design Digital is doing the website. The website is abilityheroes.org.au. Out of that, we're spawning now some for-profit entities. So anyone that's interested, anyone with ideas might be able to help us get that. It's a fully the Ability Heroes is a company limited by guarantee, so it's a charity. And out of that, as I said, there'll be for-profit things that will then underpin the charity and support the charity.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Can we
Very good. Cool.
A round of applause to Gus for just putting the episode on?
Look at that. It's all done. Nice. Well done, Gus. Any other? All right, we've got a few. Go for it.
Hi, morning everyone. My name is Kat. I have recently moved to Perth. I am 2 months into living here and enjoying the city so far. I've moved from Sydney, and prior to the pandemic I was actually living in America for 7 years. So have worked all across kind of the US and Europe in startups, but never actually really that much in Australia. So really looking here to make connections. My background primarily is people operations, HR, talent acquisition. I've got a very strong interest in skills-based hiring and helping organisations, particularly startups, understand what skills they need currently and what they need for the future. I do also have, I say it's more of a startup business idea, but if anyone has any experience in, I guess, like supply chain and manufacturing, an idea I'm working on is, and this is about poo, is basically we have an issue up in the sand dunes at the moment where backpackers are kind of doing their business up kind of near Lancelin and around, just kind of in the sand dunes. We're also seeing it more in the streets so much, and I'm currently working on designing a portable poo box for the backpacker community.
Wow.
So if anyone wants to talk about that, please do so.
This one is the demand.
Very good. I'd never do those bloody backpackers going out and pooping in the dunes. Honestly.
I guess I'd love to hear about the product validation part of that.
All testing, yeah.
Morning everybody, my name's David and my startup's called Daywitbook. It's a digital SaaS app built to digitally capture extra and unforeseen works in construction.
Do you have an ask?
What are you looking for?
Just industry knowledge basically, just networking, catching up with people, listening to what's going on.
All right. Well, you're in the right room. Awesome. Any other show? Yes, Roman.
Hi, I'm Roman. I'm just building my landing page agency right now. And the idea is to talk to volunteers who want to build landing page for their existing business, or maybe take a look at their copy to make it aligned with their messaging and talking to their customers. So just you can find me after the event or landingfury.com. That's it. Thank you.
Nice. Landingfury.com. Have your website grilled by Roman. Cool.
My name's Ben Kostrich. I'm still waking up, so I need to get one of these coffees that everyone's floating around with. I sort of joined this. I saw a LinkedIn post 2 weeks ago and I said, hey, what the heck, I'll come down and see what it's about. I recently started with my co-founder a video podcast production studio in West Perth, which is pretty much going down that hire per hour, but also everything from start to finish, including all the post-production, leveraging the AI video editing these days, and we're looking at setting up our second studio already, so that's within 9 months. So I really just want to come down here, meet other people in sort of startup industries and really just network and learn. So that's me.
Very cool.
Any
All
more?
right.
One more.
All right. This might have to be the last one.
Oh, sorry. Yep. Would recommend Roman. I just consulted him last week. He did a good job with my landing site, and yeah, just a shout out to him. But I'm Linus. I've just started up Renticulate, so it is a website or a team that's aimed to solve pains in the rental market. If you're a renter or a landlord, we are happy to have a chat just to see what pain points do you have and what potential products we can recommend to solve your problem. But currently we're just trying to establish product market fit, so we're looking for as much testers as possible to see whether if the products that we already have actually solves the problem.
Call it quits there. Anybody else with a shout out? We prediction do it towards the end. We will spin through these very quickly. It's behind Scott. Founders.
All right. Come along to the pub every first Wednesday of every month at Nowhere Man Brewery. We have Founder Sundowner. See you there. I've left this in.
Yes,
if
so
it's still coming up.
There's a few faces from last night that went to the dinner with Purpose, but Purpose will be running an online session on the 6th of November. Derek does an absolute awesome job in explaining how you guys and girls can get investor ready. It's so important. It runs through everything, sort of from the etiquette to what you should need in your data room and stuff like that. So definitely jump online, scan the QR code, or go to the Purpose Ventures website because it's on there as well.
Cool. On scanning still. A couple more scannies going on. Getting there. Got it. Cool. All right. Thanks to the Department of Jitsi for helping us out with the live stream. Well, that awesome camera equipment you see up there is thanks to perthvideo.com.au. If you want to check out the live stream, go to /morningstartupperth, and they have a whole range of other things that go on.
There's some, I can't give them enough credit. Basically, they've got obviously Innovator of the Year, the Extend program, which goes out to grants for helping kind of increase the investor knowledge here in Perth. The Waves program, we saw the 3 companies that got funded from that particular thing to help bring more VCs to WA. And also around, to last but not least, but wadealroom.co. If you go there, your business, check out, you'll see a lot of information on your business on there. You'll probably go, oh, how am I in there? But yes, I probably go into you are in there somewhere.
Cool. All right, Ammo Marketing. We've got, I saw Jack here somewhere. Hey, Jack, how you doing? If anyone needs cool marketing, go and hit up Jack and the folks at Ammo Marketing. And also check out the Weird Growth podcast. They have a podcast talking with startup founders, people in the startup community. It's really, really good. Get on it.
New episode coming out with Willow.
New episode with Willow. Excellent. I think they're one of your companies. Awesome. Cool. All right. And Beecham Group.
Glenn is... Oh, sorry.
Hey, there he is.
You look like Glenn. He's not been here for many weeks. It hurts. Cut deep. If you are looking for your next job or you are looking to recruit, then check out Beecham Group. They help support us, boutique recruitment specialists here in Perth. Glenn will always give you a little insight. And maybe next time we'll get you to do a quick shout, unless you can do it in 1 minute now.
I'll do one thing.
Hang on, you need a mic. God. Good one, Dave. Now Glenn's going to talk.
All right. Guys, I did a quick thing on LinkedIn last couple of days just about reference checking. If you're hiring, I can't stress the importance of just take the time to do a quick reference check. If you can, ask the candidate to do, if you can do a face-to-face with that referee that they provide, either VC or face-to-face, video conference or face-to-face. In the advent of AI and so on and so forth, people aren't who they are. So be prepared of the referees that you get provided. So that's my little advice tip for you when you're hiring at the moment. That's me.
Nice. Double check, triple check who you're hiring.
I reckon we should have a new section that says Glenn says.
Oh, I like that. God, I do like that.
Thank you to Keep Space for supplying the food. Jesse, if you're watching, he's growing over there in Melbourne. He's got a new big warehouse, even bigger. Who's here in e-commerce? Yeah, or 3PL.
E-commerce.
Last mile delivery, whatever. Keep Space, check them out. Basically, they'll take your goods, and then as your orders come through, they ship them for you. 3PL, for those who are in the knowledge or in the know.
Third-party logistics. Yes.
So check out Keep Space, and big thank you to Keep Space for putting on the food this morning.
Tech
Secondly,
On.
the most important one is coffee.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Tech On, for the cool coffee, or hot coffee even. They have an awesome development team based in Nepal, all managed here in Perth. So if you need some development for your app or whatever that might be, your website, hit up Tech On and they can help you out with that with very cost-effective developers.
Cool.
And, all right, this is a new slide. So, the guys at Mesh Points, there's a whole range of things. We had a slide here talking about like Startup WA and Startup News and Plus 8. But there's a whole bunch of other stuff in the Perth ecosystem that can help you guys out. Scan the QR code, and that'll take you to the Innovation Ecosystem Index. And you can use a little Copilot AI feature and say, well, you know, I need to get this off the ground, who can help me out? And it will guide you through the startup ecosystem in WA and point you at the best resources. So whether that's Bloom or Kerry or UWA or whatever it might be, there's probably something for your particular startup that can help you out. So get on that. We are Morning Startup on all the things. Get in touch, especially if you want to do a talk one day or you know someone wants to do a talk. I think we're booked out until next year, but so you've got a bit of time to think about it. But yeah, we're always looking for really good people to talk about something startup related. And like this guy, next week. In fact, Erin, are you here? You've organised this one. Do you want to give a quick shout out about what Owen's going to talk about? So this is in 2 weeks' time.
Yep. Exactly what's written on the slide. It'll be... I hope.
Cool.
No, it'll be a really fascinating talk from a founder. So one of those really great things that I wish that I'd known when I first started out, warts and all kind of fireside chat style, talking about his entrepreneurial journey. So particularly of interest, a lot of his businesses, he's made a few successful exits, are in the medtech space. So for anyone who's in that medtech space, get along. But I think his talk will be relevant for anyone who's either starting a business, scaling a business, because he's done it several times now. So he'll have lots of great war stories for us.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that. Cool. And that is formalities out of the way.
You've sacrificed one slide.
What have I done?
You the other one. I just want to say a big thank you to SpaceCube for giving us this space for free.
Oh, yeah.
There was a slide that goes
there's
just
a SpaceCube logo there. We should probably talk about them there.
Yes. we normally have a slide that says, thanks to Startup WA, if you want to check out those guys and girls, to SpaceCube for giving us this space. If you are looking for a co-working space, then check out them. And then...
Startup WA.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, all right. I might put that back in. But
you had Startup News on there and stuff like that as well. But I'll say to Jason, if you're watching, more content, please. More content.
All right. That is formalities out of the way. Oh, shit. You actually dropped the mic.
Brody, you didn't see that. It works. Brody, it works.
If we get that sound back, it's all your fault, man. Jeez. All right. I think we better stop now. I'll hand over to the lady.
My coffee.
All right, James Edwards from BetterLabs. Please make you welcome. I'll let you introduce yourself. Cheers.
The clicker, thank you. Fantastic, and thanks for the opportunity to present today. You can hear me in the back okay? All good? The slide is a little bit of a misnomer. We haven't built 500 startups. We've tested 500 problem statements and failed at most of those. So lots of lessons learnt in that. But by way of background, James Edwards, I'm the CEO of BetterLabs. My background, I'm a mechanical engineer, worked in the mining industry for about 10 years, then jumped across to consulting at PricewaterhouseCoopers in their grants tax incentive space for about 6 years. Spent some time then in advocacy with the Chamber of Minerals and Energy, but then came back into consulting with KPMG, again in the grants and R&D tax incentive space. And 6 years yesterday, joined BetterLabs. So time has gone very quickly. So great pleasure to be here. So I've got only about 10 or 11 slides, but what I wanted to run through today was why does BetterLabs exist? Run through our two main functions, which is our venture studios, where we try and build startups, and our venture fund, where we try and invest in startups, how those are progressing, and then on the venture fund stuff, what are we looking for in startups that we wanted to invest in, how the application through to investment process works. And then the last slide, I've got 10 or 15 lessons around building startups that we've seen over the last 6 years, and also what are the mistakes most startups make in trying to get investing from venture capital. So, there we go. We're 100% backed by RAC. Who's an RAC member? Who's got a policy? Great. Keep your hands up if that policy has anything to do with motoring. So motor vehicle insurance, auto repair shops, or roadside assist, most of you. So we're a very successful organisation, which is fantastic. We're member-owned, so we're owned by you as members. And last year, I think we did about $1.4 billion in revenue, up from around $250 million in 2010. So great growth. Overwhelmingly, that's come from motor vehicle insurance and our motor vehicle departments, so roadside assist and auto repair shops, which is fantastic. But like large corporates, we are vulnerable to disruption. Case in point, at the moment, our insurance, motor vehicle insurance, we own about 56% of the WA market, and we insure you driving your cars. With autonomous vehicles coming, that business model is going to get disrupted. Who we're insuring? Is it going to be the OEMs? Is it going to be the fleets, etc.? And we know this is coming. Electric cars. So at the moment, most of you drive, I'm sure, internal combustion engine cars. They have a tendency to break down. Not you, Dave. He's moved across. And the theory is electric cars, obviously a lot fewer moving parts. And hopefully less breakdowns, and so our roadside assist business might be disrupted in that respect. And obviously all our auto repair workshops are predominantly set up to service internal combustion engine cars, not electric cars, so again that disruption's coming through. So we are facing a lot of disruption in our main businesses at RAC. So we decided, it was probably about 8 years ago, that to remain resilient to that disruption, we need to diversify as much as possible. Traditional ways large corporates diversify, obviously through M&A, and we do look at M&A opportunities, but the other one is through innovation, and that's where RAC BetterLabs comes. So how do we explore innovation opportunities? We have a venture studio. We've got some of the team today, Eduardo and Dave, thank you for coming. And that's a RAC BetterLabs employed cohort where we'll run through it in a little bit, but basically we try and identify a whole bunch of problem statements, throw it through our innovation funnel as quickly and cheaply as possible. If it's got some traction, we actually build a product or service, test it live in market, and if successful, spin it out, still 100% owned by RAC, and hopefully scale that to something meaningful. And then on the other side, we have our corporate venture fund. So that was established in late 2018 and expanded in 2020. $23 million where we want to invest into predominantly WA startups. Typical venture funding, we're looking for some high returns. Obviously, it's a very high risk asset class. 10 to 20% equity stake, portfolio approach, and importantly, which I'll discuss later, actually M&A opportunities for us as well. So those are our two main functions to help explore and exploit innovation opportunities to help RAC diversify. We still have finite resources, so yes, we'd love to explore innovation opportunities everywhere and anywhere, but we do have some swim lanes that we have identified where we think, one, some are adjacent to our main business, but some are new to our main business, i.e. that differentiation, but not too much of a brand stretch. So if we look at some that are adjacent, our member community, we have 1.2 million members in WA, but we have a very transactional relationship with those members and they almost have no relationship with each other. So what are the opportunities in that space? InsurTech, we talked about the disruption coming into that space, so what are the new technologies and business models that we can invest in there? Mobility, so trying to move away from being just a motoring club, but into mobility. So what does that mean? Getting into, obviously, electrification, mobility scooters, whatever it might be to help people get from A to B, not just motor vehicles. And then the three non-adjacent domains that we look at are clean tech. So this is looking at energy, waste and water and opportunities in those space. Life, work and money, so how people are going to live and work in the future. So think moving away from asset ownership to subscriptions, from fiat currencies to digital currencies, etc. And the last one being the third age. So this is around the ageing population, most predominantly in the Western world, and the opportunities that presents to us. So not necessarily in the care space, but think about property, finances, death tech, etc., and exploring and exploiting those opportunities. So those are our swim lanes, both for our venture studio and for the venture fund. And how's our venture studios going? So we've had a lot of failure. So we've tested, as per the slide before, at least 500 problem statements across those 6 emerging innovation domains over the last 5 or 6 years. We use the Lean Business Canvas as our primary framework to do that, and really we divide it up into a bunch of stages. So discovery stage, where we're trying to get out there and validate there's a problem someone's willing to pay for. a pressure test stage where we want to get a wireframe into people's hands and use it and try and actually get a transaction. And if we get enough traction there, actually go out and build a prototype, launch that live into market and hopefully get some traction. People would ask, well, what's the end point for the venture studios? Well, we really want to build and scale amazing startups to something meaningful and build as much value as possible. And really there's three then value points for us there. So the first one is an exit, so we can give a return of capital back to RAC and to the members. The second one is we build an amazing business. It sits within the BetterLabs ecosystem and hopefully provides a bunch of dividends back to RAC and then again back to our members. Or third, it's got a good brand affiliation with RAC, so we can spin that actual business back up to RAC, becomes an RAC branded business, and then we can start diversifying through that as well. So as I said, lots of prototypes, lots of discoveries, but some good success, which is amazing. I'll run through some of them at the moment. So we've got 4 prototypes live in market at the moment. KiteSite being one of them. So Dave and his co-founder George have identified an opportunity, and I think you call it the Shopify for creators, Dave. So basically, if you want to engage a creator, most of the time that's done over email, and for a creator, that's a pain in the ass. So basically, you're doing your correspondence, your pricing, your briefing, your payments over email. If you've got multiple clients, that gets very clunky. So Dave and George have created a platform called KiteSite to basically take care of all that admin burden, and open beta is being launched pretty soon. Hopefully this week, which is amazing. And that's a global day one business for us, which is super exciting. Being there's 100 million creators working full-time globally at the moment, it's an amazing opportunity. And Drip Invest is a teenage investing app to help teens get ready to, I suppose, for financial security in their lives. So you can actually, as a teenager, go in and invest across 15 ETFs. There's an educational component, and it's got parental control. So the team there, Isabella and Maria, are doing an amazing job, and they just presented at Intersect, which is great. And actually just did an interview with Koshi on Channel 7, which is also fantastic. So they're going great. So those are in prototype stage. And obviously, if we're getting some traction with those, we'll launch those out as standalone businesses. And then we've launched 4 businesses into the market at the moment in all various stages of success and scaling, or not. We still have the same challenges everybody else has, I can assure you. But the one that we mentioned earlier was Willow. So Willow is solving the problem of indoor plants dying. So every year, 72 million indoor plants die, including mine. And so Willow have created a plant sensor that measures temperature, humidity, light and water. It's connected to an app, and it basically proactively keeps your particular plant alive. These are the ideas that are pitched to us. We can't be sceptical because they work, and off we go. So the guys have done amazingly well. They launched the hardware into the market, I think, in December last year, and shipped to 26 countries and are doing amazingly well. I think we're rolling out to Bunnings in November and also into the UK this calendar year. So in around 20,000 active subscribers now across their platform. So it's fantastic news. And then we've also had one exit. So Dave again and George at the back there. KiteSite actually spun out of this. So they identified a problem that brands and agencies really struggle to get a hold of UGC creators. Took them 2 or 3 hours to actually find someone and then engage with them again was challenging. So they created a marketplace connecting UGC creators with brands and agencies and scaled that to a meaningful GMV, which was fantastic over the period of about 6 months. What we realised is that RAC BetterLabs didn't have the capability to scale that globally. A brand agency really needed to do that. And we identified the KiteSite opportunity, which we thought was a better opportunity for us. So we managed to sell that 4 months ago, I think, Dave, which was fantastic. So great exit. So that's our venture studios. Always looking for amazing people. So as you can imagine, we're looking for entrepreneurial people, maybe has had startups or gone through an accelerator program. We're always looking for talent. So always reach out to us. I'm on LinkedIn. The rest of the team are on LinkedIn. So our venture fund, as I mentioned, was launched in late 2018 as a $3 million seed fund. It's the first and only corporate venture fund in WA, which is fantastic for RAC. Like a typical venture fund, it's a portfolio approach. So we want to invest in across 20 or 25 companies over the $23 million. Most of those are going to fail, but we are looking for those outliers that are going to give us that 10 to 100 times return to give us an overall 3 times return on our fund. We invest in seed to Series B. Our sweet spot is seed, and for one of the reasons is that in terms of the advisory support, we've got now 50 people in our Venture Studios team. We've also got Marcus Tan as our entrepreneur in residence. The support we can give you in that seed to Series A phase is phenomenal. We've touched and learnt and failed at many, many things, and we can pass those lessons on to you. Check sizes, so seed round from as little as 180, and the largest check we've done is $3 million in a Series B, so we can play in that space. And definitely a focus on WA for startups. So I would say 80% of the startups we've actually invested in are from WA, which is fantastic. One of the differences, or three differences between a typical venture fund and a corporate venture fund is we just have one limited partner, being RAC, whereas something like, say, Purpose Ventures or other typical venture funds maybe have 10, 20 or 30 LPs, so we've just got the one. We invest off the balance sheet, so we don't have to go out there and raise capital. We just invest off RAC's balance sheet. And then the visibility and disruption of business models. So what's perhaps attractive to you is we're looking for acquisition opportunities. And we've actually had a look at one of our startups that we've invested in. It didn't go through, but we got very close to going through. So if we invest in you as a seed round, you maybe do a Series A, then you're looking for a Series B, we might go, actually, this is a really good fit with RAC. We'll look at an exit opportunity for you and buy you out and flip you up into RAC. The other one is just potentially access to RAC members. So I would say maybe 5 or 6 of our portfolio companies have access to our member benefits program, and that obviously gives you exposure to the 1.3 million members in WA, which is fantastic, and also maybe subject matter expertise in-house. So if you are in the motoring industry or in the insurance industry or finance or travel, we've obviously got all those businesses in-house at RAC, and they can maybe provide you some support. How are we going to date? So about 500 applications. I think it's closer to now 200 pitches, and we've made 27 investments, including follow-ons, so in around 17 or 18 companies. We are a cornerstone sponsor of the +8 Accelerator program for the last 5 years, which is fantastic. We love that program. But some of the shout-out companies we've invested in, so Complete Home Filtrations, it was actually our first investment in the fund. She's an amazing founder, Suzanne Dodds. She's built that business from sub $1 million revenue to now plus 35 million across the country, which is phenomenal. Dan Javeski, if anybody's on LinkedIn, you'll see Dan there. He's a machine. He's most probably now the premier player in the open banking B2C space in Australia, which is fantastic. Space Deco, shout out to Franco over there, a +8 alumni, and also a venture fund portfolio partner, and Gathered Here, which is in Death Tech. So this is a Sydney-based company. They provide free digital wills to consumers, and then they monetize it through a gift in wills platform with charities. So people wanting to bequeath or gift part of their estate to charities, they have a platform where you're able to do that. It's a phenomenal business. So how do you apply to BetterLabs Ventures Fund? It's hopefully super easy. Go to our website, so betterlabs.com.au. If you're investor ready, so I would say definitely become investor ready, and that's talking about you've got an application, you've got your data room in order, shareholders agreement, cap table, etc. If that's all in order, I reckon it takes you around 15 minutes to lob in an application. We'll get back to you within a week, and if we like what we see, we'll bring you in for a pitch, which is about an hour. In that hour, it's really meeting the co-founders, lining up what you said in your pitch to what you're saying in person, and getting a sense of you as a team. And if we like that, we'll sign an NDA, get into some due diligence into your data room, and then again, if we want to lead the round, we'll put up a term sheet, get that approved by our investment committee, sign that off hopefully, and then we'll do the final closing documents and hopefully get some money in your bank. We really try and move quickly because we want you out there growing your business, not raising capital. The quickest we've done from application to investments around 6 weeks, which is pretty good. The longest is around 6 months. So it can take some time depending on lawyers, etc., but really trying to get you obviously into growing your business and getting you that capital for you to do that. If at any stage we decide not to invest in you, we really try to be as transparent as possible and give you that feedback in terms of where perhaps there are some gaps. And we've actually had some companies go away, address those gaps, come back and repitch, and we've invested in them. So it is a brutal game. You'll go out there and raise capital, you'll do 100 pitches and you'll get one VC investing in you. So resilience there is very important. And then what are we looking for as well? So exactly the same thing we look for in our studio companies. There's probably 6 criteria that are super important to us. There's a whole range of other criteria that are still important, but these are the key ones. Problem solution fit. So we need to be convinced there's a problem out there and you've got a solution to that problem. And importantly, you've got traction. So traction to us, ideally, is someone's paid you some money to solve that problem. Okay? We've only invested in one company pre-revenue, but they had 2,000 beta users very actively engaged in their platform, etc. And the pathway to monetisation was very clear and, in our view, low risk. But ideally, for us to invest in you in the seed round, we want to see traction and a really, really good problem solution. Innovation. So obviously we're not investing in cafes. We're investing in innovative companies, but importantly, that doesn't have to be just technology innovation. It can be business model innovation. So that company I referred to before gathered here, the Death Tech, that's all business model innovation and it's amazing. So don't discount yourself if it's just a business model innovation. We definitely will look at that. Global market. So venture capital is the highest risk asset class you can invest in. And for that, we need to invest in businesses that promise outsized returns. So we're looking for a 10 to 100 times return in every single portfolio company we're investing in, because as I said before, most of those are going to fail, but the ones that do make it are going to give those outsized returns. So most businesses, to get that kind of return, it's going to be pretty hard to do it in Australia. So we are looking for those companies, preferably, that do have global ambitions to hopefully give us an outsized return. And the other one was value. So this also, again, is around return. So a lot of the time we get pitches to us where the growth is pretty limp, very small growth over the out years, and we're like, there's no return there. Or we get companies that give us, we're going to be a $50 million company in year 2, and we're not going to believe in that, right? So we need companies where we can see the value, we can see your pathway to that valuation and that growth, and we've got to be convinced of that as well. So it's a fine balance, and to be honest, when we invest in you, day one, that business model you present to us isn't going to work. We just got to be convinced that you as a founder can do that and deliver that and pivot with that. Everything's going to go wrong in your business, and that's the final point, the founding team. We've invested in amazing businesses and amazing founders, but we've also invested into not great businesses with amazing founders. We'll never invest in an amazing business with not great founders. And the reason is, I think as Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face. And we'll talk about that a bit later. But we're looking for founders, preferably 2. We have invested in single founders, but it's a lonely journey. We like having 2 or more just so you can keep each other honest, there's a shoulder to cry on, you can work harder together. Preferably a domain experienced founder as well as a tech founder if there is a technical aspect to that, the startup itself. But founders are absolutely key, integrity and all those other things. Plus you've got to get on with us, right? We're going to be investors in your business for the rest of your life. We're going to be part owners of the business for the rest of that business's life. We need to make sure that we can get on and have that chemistry as well to hopefully make your business a very large success. So those are the main factors we're looking for. And then some of the lessons. So just on the left-hand side are some of the traditional startup lessons that we've experienced and learnt over the last 6 years at BetterLabs, both from a portfolio company perspective as well as a venture studios company perspective. And then on the right, more specific to the venture fund. So I'll start with the venture fund. And these are the applicants that don't get through or have tripped over at some stage during the application process. So the first one, as I mentioned before, make sure your back office is in order. For us, it's a signal. If we go into your due diligence, into your data room, and your shareholders' agreement's a mess, your cap table's a mess, you haven't got a great forecast, to us that's straight away a signal you're not running your business efficiently. There's also things that we look out for, like on the balance sheet. We're not going to invest definitely in a seed round if you've got a whole bunch of debt on your balance sheet already. We don't like debt on the balance sheet, and neither VC is going to like that. If you've got some funky shareholder terms like anti-dilution clauses for the founders or something that really protects other people rather than your VC, we're not going to like that as well. Messy financial models, etc. So make sure your back office, your basics of your business are really up to scratch before you invest. Cap table, we've seen some absolutely amazing businesses come through our venture fund, but we just can't invest in them because the cap table's a mess. And the two biggest early stage challenges we see is there's 500 people on the cap table, that's just too hard, or the founders have gone out and got maybe pre-seed or angel investors and given away too much equity. And they're down to 30 or 40%, and there's a bunch of shareholders sitting with large equity stakes pre-seed round, which is really challenging for us and any VC to go in and then invest into those companies. When you think about VC, what we're looking for is, because it's such a high-risk asset class, any additional risk that we identify just makes it really hard for us to invest. And we're looking for excuses not to invest, because it's going to be hard enough to deliver anyway in the startup space. But if some of these fundamentals are wrong, it just adds a layer of risk that we're not willing to play with. Focusing on valuation versus funding, especially for the early stages. So we've seen some amazing companies argue over $500,000 in the valuation and forego funding and go bust. And our view is typically you give away 15 to 20% equity every round. Our view is we want to build $1 billion company. If you've got 19% versus 18.5% as a founder, that should make a difference to you. Get the right money and the right backing behind you, get the money and go, versus quibbling around percentages in valuation at the early stages. Accepting too high a valuation. So we see this sometimes, mostly in the Series A rounds, especially in the last few years where valuations were going a bit crazy. And what happens is that you get overvalued, and then you've got to try grow into that valuation. And very few companies we see are able to do that, and then all of a sudden you're doing down rounds. So some people might come along and say, here's a great valuation. Think twice about accepting that, because the pressure is on you as a founder that for the next round, we're going to make sure we grow into that valuation and beyond to justify, say, a Series B if you've had a really high Series A valuation. Using a corporate advisor to manage your round. We're investing, certainly in seed rounds and Series A rounds, in you as founders, and we want to see how you manage your business. If you've got someone else to outsource your fundraising, we don't like that. Right? We want you to do that. One, to show us your capabilities in that space, but two, the investor network, and I think I might have that one at the bottom there. Your investor network is super important, and that relationship should be owned by you as a founder, because you never know when you want to raise capital. And if you're outsourcing that for each round, that advisor can go retired, whatever, and you've lost that investor network straight away. So you need to own that investor network. Having an advisor in your pitch meeting. We don't mind that per se, but again, if it's certainly in a Series A or seed round, I question, why do you need an advisor to tell me how your business is being run? I want you to tell me how your business is being run. I want you to know your data. I want you to know everything about your business. I don't want an advisor in there doing that, if that makes sense, right? Because we're investing in you as founders. Again, not knowing your data well enough, don't outsource that to your founder. The amount of pitches we've had where a founder will come in or founding team will come in and we ask them a simple question like, what's your CAC? And we get an answer that we know is not correct or it doesn't sound right. Again, that confidence in you plummets, right? So know the data, know your business backwards, especially in those early rounds. Obviously, if you're going to Series B and C and etc., your company is much larger, you might have a C-suite to support you, but certainly in those early rounds, a VC is going to be expecting you to know everything about your business, the ins and outs. And then be convincing, right? If we think you're not believing in what you're putting up there, we're not going to believe in it, right? So we want founders that are 100% passionate and believe in the problem they're solving and believe they can build a business around that. So that passion and purpose is super, super important. So that's on the venture funding side. And then venture, just building startups. It's hard, guys. It's really, really hard. As I said, we've had 500 applications. We've made 20 investments on the venture fund side and, must read 500 problem statements and launch 4 businesses on the venture studio side. So that gives you a bit of an understanding of how hard it is building building startups. I would say for us, early stage, the hardest So the biggest mistake is trying to find a problem that people are willing to pay for. Not tell you, and willing to pay for. So I would say 400 of the 500 problem statements we've put through our funnel, that's been the number one reason why we kill it, right? There's lots of problems out there. People have problems every day, but people willing to pay for a problem to be solved, that's a very, very different beast, right? And I'll go then down to the last one, heat. There might be a problem out there that people are willing to pay, but is it a big enough market? Is there enough urgency, I suppose, with respect to people trying to solve that problem? We call it heat, and it's hard to define. So a lot of our teams go, how much heat, how much traction do we need to get into, say, a prototype or commercialisation? We don't know what that looks like. It depends on the product, the service, the market, etc. But when you see it, you see it. Something like Willow, there was heat because people just loved the product. They were downloading the app without the hardware. We have a Strata management business. The heat there was more qualitative. We'd call up people who were at Strata and they were like, we hate our Strata managers, please help us. That's the kind of heat we're looking for. So those are the problems with people willing to pay, but then the heat behind that is what really gets us through the funnel as far as possible. Perfection over progress. A lot of people in this room, I'm sure, are high-performing individuals. We love perfection. We love putting in the right product or service out there. And it is, we're brutal with respect to our teams putting out shitty products as quickly as possible. Dave's squirming in his seat. And we think we're doing a great job, but we can always do a better job. So we've seen it way too often where people hold back around getting their product or service in clients' hands as soon as possible and just being comfortable, really comfortable with that's not going to work. There's going to be failure in that respect. Another one, and we see this both more so on the venture fund side, but also sometimes see it in our venture studio side, is the tendency, again, to get distracted by shiny stuff, right? So we love problems. So we always challenge our teams. We want a problem statement that's one sentence long. It's really narrow. It's really acute. It's focusing on just one single problem that has a big enough market for us to address. Yes, in time we can expand, but the problem itself is very narrow and acute versus the tendency for people to go wide. I'm going to solve 2 or 3 problems across maybe 2 or 3 personas, slightly different, but we don't like that. Solve one single problem really well, really deep, do it fantastic, then expand. Next one is geographical expansion. Again, I'm getting pulled to Sydney, I'm getting pulled to the States, etc. Until, certainly for us, until you've validated your business model as much as you can, because you never fully do it, don't expand. All you're doing is exporting your problems into different geographies, different time zones, different customers, and then you've got this problem across all those geographies and customers. It's terrible. So hold on, get it perfected as much as possible, and then go. The founder side. We talk about integrity, capability, chemistry, drive. The number one factor or value or behaviour we look in founders and as well as our studios teams is perseverance, because we haven't invested in a startup to date that hasn't had some major crisis hit it, and it's brutal. And so for the founder to have that perseverance, or the founding team to have that perseverance and passion in solving that problem, to push through that is so important to us. So when we're investing in your business day one, that business model, throw it out the window because things are going to happen. The only thing that's going to make that happen is the founders, the resilience and perseverance of those founders. But, and this is more so for our venture studios team, perseverance versus delusion, being able to call it quits. So when we aren't seeing that traction, we aren't seeing that heat, we do see some founders just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and we get these zombie startups happening. Sometimes you just got to go, it's not working, right? And no one can tell you when that is. That's lots of ambiguity in that, but sometimes you just got to call it, right? There's nothing there. Continuing to test at a pace that you did in the early stages. So this is some of the lessons we learned in our venture studios is you're not spin out a company, you've got some great assumptions that you validated to some extent in your business model, but we don't continue to test and stress those assumptions as we're scaling, right? You talk about Jeff Bezos, and he talks about the scale of testing. They're still trying to keep at Amazon because the environment's changing, people are changing, prices are changing. You need to continually test that as you're scaling. And obviously, you become a large corporate like RAC. There's more rigidity around the business model, and assumptions have been validated. But I would say until you're a very large organisation, you've got to keep testing every single assumption in your business model as quickly as possible to make sure you're not missing something. Being innovative across your business model. So don't just innovate your solution, innovate your pricing model, innovate how you're going to access your customers, innovate how you're going to recruit the best team. And I can't stress that enough. So always think outside the box in terms of all the assumptions in your business model. You've got to innovate every single one of those as much as possible. So don't just use the plug and play, normal processes, normal pricing. What can you do differently? How can you innovate in that space across all those systems? And the final one is just hygiene. As you scale, make sure your processes and systems scale with you. So too often we see startups grow really rapidly and then it just collapses and they've got to stop growing for about a year to get all their work health and safety, legislative requirements, employment law, all that kind of stuff, and then they go again. So it's a fine balance. You don't want to, and we have this challenge in our venture studios as well. RAC is a very, very risk-averse organisation. If we were actually in the RAC, we couldn't do what we could do because we'd just be smothered by governance. So you want to make sure that your governance is appropriate and your system's appropriate for the size and scale you're at, but you've got to scale that with you, otherwise you're going to get caught out, right? Whether it's data privacy or work health and safety or finances, just make sure you're scaling those systems and processes as you scale and hopefully grow your business. And that's it. Thanks very much. Oh, last one. I forgot I had one more slide. So just, actually, I love this. This is some research done by Bill Gross, who is the founder and CEO of idealab in the US. They're a venture studio and they've spun out around 250, 300 companies. And some have been unicorns, but most have been failures. And he did some amazing research trying to understand, both for his own companies and also from some external companies, what are the key factors for success across these 5 variables, right? So timing, was it the right time? The team, the founding team and ability to execute, the actual idea, problem solution fit, the business model, how you're going to make money, and then funding. And which were the key determinant factors for a startup success? And the number one was timing. So even if I look at our Plant with Willow product, that was actually tried 10 or 12 years ago, I think, Dave, that's right. The technology wasn't there. Technology has just become available really the last 3 or 4 years where we're not draining batteries in 2 minutes. They last for 2 years. The technology is there with smartphones as well, obviously. We don't have much control over timing. So the second biggest one is the founding team. So founding team, the actual idea, business model and funding. So funding isn't as critical. I would always say if you can tick the team, the ideas and the business model, you're always going to get the funding. But for us, it validates we invest in the founders because the founders are the biggest thing we can have control over in terms of who we invest in. Okay, thanks, Dave.
I think you'll hear a theme coming from those of you who've been here before. There's an absolute theme that you've just reiterated in what you've said. Are there any questions? I'll be a roaming mic.
Thank you, James, for fantastic lessons. Just a question around software as a service businesses. Have you validated any of these, and what are the lessons in particular to this type of startups?
I think, so the one thing I would say is most of the work we do is in business to consumer, but we have done some B2B businesses. In fact, we've got Space to Co over there, B2B. I would say the access to customer, certainly at the early stage of the funnel, B2C is really nice and easy. You can access your customer through Meta, go down to the UWA, do some surveys, etc. Access in B2B is pretty hard. So I would say your time frames to validate in B2B is longer and you need that kind of runway to do that. However, once you have cracked that, the stickiness is fantastic. So we love that stickiness with respect to B2B SaaS products. But otherwise, I don't think the lessons are much different to B2C. I think everything up there applies as much to SaaS as it's to hardware, as it's to IoT, to service.
Thanks, James. When it comes to founder, there are usually, by and large, two types of founder. One is like they enjoy innovation and just building product, but when it comes to scale or certain, scaling like all this human resources, they don't enjoy that, right? So they would like to exit at some point and go back and start again that process, versus there are other founders who enjoy that process, like Jeff Bezos starting and then scaling it all the way. Is there a red flag when you invest in your company that, okay, like if a founder says that I would like to exit at 10 million, for example, or go from point A to point B, not all the way through that growing, is there a red flag, green flag when it comes to investing in company? Do you ask those kind of questions? And just like open-ended question, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, I think for us, that would be a red flag if a founder came, because we think founders are so important to the business. I would say we'd be very comfortable with a founder exiting a business when the founder is agnostic to the business, if that makes sense. So I don't think that happens at $10 million worth of revenue. I think there's still a lot of assumptions in your business model you need to validate. You need that entrepreneurial mindset in that. So I would say it would be a red flag if someone said, I want to exit before we really get to that unicorn status, if that makes sense. Right. But, we don't mind founders, and we'd love founders bringing in subject matter expertise. So building that C-suite around them, that I don't expect a founder to be a jack of all trades. Usually if at the early stage that they're created as entrepreneurial style. Right. As you're growing, you bring in a COO, a CTO, etc. And what we're looking for is those founders have the leadership capability and humility and coachability to go, I need this help and support, and I'm happy to do that and manage that team.
Thank you.
Phil, once you've made a decision to not invest in a company, do you track those companies over time to see whether they go or not? Yeah. I guess I'm just looking to sort of see how successful is your identification of future value type of thing, yeah.
No, definitely not, because then we just show we're not doing a great job. No. Look, we do to some extent, and I think because we invest mostly into the WA ecosystem, by proxy we get visibility of those ones that have been successful versus not. Do we formally track them? No, but there's probably been one or two, certainly earlier in the venture fund, where perhaps we were a little bit more risk adverse or just working out our investment thesis that we didn't invest in, that have actually done quite well. But by and large, we've been pretty successful with respect to our investment thesis and portfolio. And I think one of the things that helped us stand out, certainly the last 3 or 4 years, is that we didn't get caught up in the crazy valuations that was happening in the industry. So, we've seen obviously a lot of down rounds or failures in startups because they can't get the next tranche of funding. Our portfolio has been pretty considered in respect to that. The one thing I'd also say just on valuations as a lesson is WA valuations versus Australian valuations versus US valuations are all very different. So also manage your expectations. If you go on and you're about to pitch to a WA VC company, and you're doing your valuation search and you're getting 15 times revenue multiples coming out of the States, you're not going to get that in Australia. Definitely not. Once you're in the States, 100%. So just make sure when you're pitching and you're looking at valuations that it is Australian-based valuations versus overseas valuations, yeah.
Great presentation. Could you talk a little bit more about the way BetterLabs as a CVC can bring potentially the whole of ecosystem and access to RAC to the portfolio companies you invest in? And secondly, do you invest debt?
Yes, I think we might invest debt. No, we don't invest debt. But in terms of the RAC ecosystem, so I think that the first one is just capability. So as I mentioned, we've now got 50 amazing people in our Venture Studios team, and they're working across fintech, property, IoT. What else, Dave? I mean, so many member community, tourism and travel. Right. So we've explored and launched or prototyped businesses in so many different verticals and techs, etc. So we've a lot of lessons learned. So like Dave sits with me on a number of our portfolio companies and just brings a whole heap of knowledge and assistance to those portfolio companies. So I think that knowledge base is great on the startup space. But then, as I mentioned before, even if it's just finance and treasury, if you've got a problem, well, we've got a treasury team. If it's around contractor management, we've got a massive contractor management team at RAC. So we can, not here's a person for 10 hours, but here we can bounce something off the subject matter expertise and our 2,000 staff members at RAC. And then I think the third one is just access to the membership, which is pretty cool. So as I said, the main way we do that is via our member benefits. And usually when we invest in a portfolio company, after about 6 to 12 months, we feel the company is working, it's standing up on its own, etc. If it's the right type of business, so we're looking obviously at BDC, we can then give the member benefit access. So that's obviously being on our website, potentially Horizons magazine, EDMs, etc. Or if it's in the service industry for large corporates, there might be an introduction into RAC with maybe doing a health and wellness corporate program. Okay, we can introduce you into the RAC as maybe a stepping stone to sell services into RAC proper. So there's a range of things we can do. That we can never promise, right? So we can't go to the member benefits team and go, hey, take them. But we can certainly facilitate those introductions. And as I said, I think we've got 4 or 5 at least of our portfolio companies currently accessing our members via the benefits program.
Do you quantify that, like the benefit to portfolio startups?
No, it's just a value add, I think, for those. And it really depends on those businesses as well. So there's a lot of businesses we've invested in that it's just not appropriate for a member-based community, B2B, if that makes sense, yeah.
Question here.
Yeah. Thank you, James, for great presentation and great advice. This is just something I'm curious about, having worked in startups and, learned the hard way. How do you've got your process in terms of how you select your companies. You go through a due diligence, you meet the team, you get to know the founders. How is it in that one meeting that you end up, deciding that these people are going to make it and these people are not? Because for me, a lot of the time, that's a lesson that I've learned the hard way, getting in or people saying something and not really being sincere or genuine about it, and then you learn the hard way that this is not going to work or the team dynamics is just not there. And I've heard this a lot of the time where I've spoken to other CEOs and stuff. You go there to solve a technology problem, but it actually is about the people dynamics that comes to it, right?
Yeah.
So I just was sort of interested in your views with it because you've spent a lot of time doing this.
Yeah. Yes, I think if you put in an application with a pitch deck and some high-level information, we're curious enough around the opportunity, if that makes sense. So we think the business model, the industry you're in, the market sizing, your go-to-market, we're feeling, geez, that looks pretty good opportunity. What we don't know at that stage is the founders, right? We've got maybe their LinkedIn bios, maybe a couple of CVs, but that doesn't tell you much. So the pitch meeting is 100%, 99% around looking at the founders in the face. And that's just it's like a marriage, right? So, there's a lot of gut instinct there around integrity, capability, competency across the data. So when we ask, we'll ask some pretty challenging questions in those meetings. So one, just around the data and making sure you're across that data. But, coachability is another big factor we're looking for. So we'll press into some things and see how founders react to that. If they get standoffish, that's not a great sign, right? Or if they're curious and want to learn, that's fantastic. So there's so many data points that we're picking, and it's not just in that meeting. If we do progress, that's just a small box tick around the founders, all the way through due diligence. It's the same kind of thing, right? How are they responding? How do they respond? How quickly do they respond? Are they apologetic if they miss a deadline? All these little factors show us these are the kind of people who are going to be resilient and grow and be perseverant, have perseverance with respect to growing this business. So it's like dating. That's what it's like, right? Like we're going to be with you for the whole entire lifetime of this business, hopefully until exit. So we're just checking all these factors continuously. And I think Derek from Purpose Ventures talks about you're always on due diligence, right? From the moment we meet you, all the way through. So there's no specifics, but it's integrity, competence, capability, all those things. And can we actually journey with you through that journey, through the hopefully the entire growth journey to exit?
I would just say to anybody in those questions, go to perthvideo.com and look at Purpose Ventures in that. Derek was up here giving his talk, which was the longer version, or jump onto the session on the 6th of November where he'll probably go through the same founder information session. So absolutely, like I say, you're literally the moment you're walking through the door, he will go and speak to Lockie, who is the person who will meet and greet you. He'll ask, different things. Did you pick your cup up out of the boardroom and take it?
He stole that one from me.
Did he? Little things, right? It's just like they're looking at you as a founder. Go and watch that session. It's very, very, very informative. One last question. Maybe we can push it for two, but I'll go Jack first.
Thanks, James. Hayscape, I think it's one of the most exciting in the portfolio at the moment. Can you tell us a bit more about, plans for scaling, and are we going to see them nationally, I guess?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I can't say too much, but Hayscape was our first company that we commercialised out of the venture studios, and the hypothesis there was we're trying to find lazy farmland around, or agricultural land or vineyards around Perth or regional metropolitan centres where we can put these cabins on. They're high end, so really luxurious, but almost fully sustainable. So composting toilet, solar battery, rainwater, etc. And we've got now 25 cabins across WA in around 7 locations. Pretty good occupancy rates, which is amazing. The challenge we have is that we don't think we can get to the profitability we want with such a disaggregated model. So we're looking at potentially aggregating them on larger super sites, so you still have the same experience of you're not looking at a cabin, you're still in the wilderness, but sites that are big enough that we can still give the guest experience, but we can have actually some full-time local resources around maintenance and cleaning. So we're hopefully going to do a trial on that pretty soon, and if that works, then we'll hopefully look at some more super sites across WA. I'm not sure we go nationally, we'll see, but we are talking to some amazing potential locations. We were in Kings Park not long ago, Rottnest Island and some other pretty cool locations. So if we can start nailing that, that'd be good. Yep.
I know someone who's got a hobby farm.
Cleaning.
Yes. Cleaning's a problem.
Last question, and then we'll break.
Thanks for your presentation, James. With your venture studios, do you have a minimum, requirement or, stage of development for startups in order to start working with you on the support or consultancy side?
The venture studio, venture fund?
On the studio side.
On the studio side. So in terms of supporting us in terms of...
So I get the minimum necessities for the investment side, but on the ventures side, I guess that's more the support and working together, isn't it, for the development?
Yeah, so the model for the venture studios is RSE employees. We support them with external resources, so we don't use RSE at all for that. We do use Tech-On, which is amazing. We use KeepSpace as well, so 2 sponsors here have been fantastic for us. But I'm not sure what your question is. So, but basically, the stage we started is trying to identify a problem. Yep, that's as early as it is, right, all the way through. But we don't partner with externals on a problem. We own that whole problem statement.
Okay, and you're
we don't joint venture with potentially other founders in the studio side.
All right, so it's all an investment. Okay, that makes more sense.
Cool, Mr. Glue. Let's have a round of applause. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, James. That was awesome.
Hopefully you've taken something away from that. Lots of great insights.
Huge amount of lessons. Yeah, great. So, look, we're going to let you guys stretch your legs and get to know each other. This is probably the best bit of Morning Startup. Get to actually network and see who else is in the room and see if anyone else can help you out. Got some food at the back. Thanks again to KeepSpace. Grab another coffee if you want one. And see you in 2 weeks' time with Owen McKenna, who's going to talk about his lessons, building and scaling startups. So come along.
We can't have too many more now because we break, don't we? Just literally start of December.
Yeah,
So
we'll be breaking. That's the other thing. West Tech Fest. Make sure you get your tickets. They've got the whole conference stuff on special at the moment, so go grab your tickets for that.
Yep. Apologies, I'm going to put this room back to a co-working space, and at 9 o'clock we will politely kick you out the door. So.
Watch out for flying furniture, but see you in 2 weeks.
Take care.
Cheers.